This year has been such a great reading year for me. Last year, I read only 8 books. Yeah, 2019 was not the best for my reading year, but this year, I read about 25 books. That is obviously more than half of what I read last year. So today I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite books that I read in 2020. I've been reading really good books this year, and I'm very surprised that, to be honest, all of the 25 books I read, I actually genuinely enjoyed. So it was kind of hard for me to kind of pick my top 5 favorites, but you know what? Here we go. Also, I know a lot of book nerds or booktube watchers comment on my videos saying they miss my book videos. So you know what? This is for you. So without further ado, I'm just going to start. So number 5 on this list is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Wow, this is such a fat book. To be honest, now that I look at it, all of the books that I'm going to mention is very fat and big. But this is a high fantasy. It's a modern high fantasy world. It sets in this very futuristic world where it's combining technology and fantasy elements, which I really love. And to be quite honest, this year has been the Sarah J. Maas year for me. And I really enjoyed this first book. The reason why it's on my 5th place and not like higher, it's because the ending was a little bit iffy for me. It's a little bit overpowering in my personal opinion, but I still enjoy it nonetheless. I am going to read the second book soon next year. I think it's going to come out next year, right? Also, this is an adult novel, so there are some more adult scenes, if you know what I mean. I think my favorite quality of this book is the fact that it is a high fantasy book combining with a little bit of technology and just a little bit of science in this book. And it is set in a modern world, so it's much more relatable compared to other fantasy books that she has written, like Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns Roses are like set in this very different fantasy world, and it's very kind of like ancient, you know, you got the castles and stuff. Well, this one is very modern. Cities, phones, technology, Wi-Fi. I love the characters. I cannot wait to see how are they going to be developed in the future. And yeah, 5th place. On my number 4 of my favorite books I've read this year is another Sarah J. Maas book, which is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I know, another Sarah J. Maas book. This is the last book in a Throne of Glass series, and I think I really like this book. This is 1,000 pages, guys. This is 1,000 pages. It's 985 or 84, but I'm gonna round it up to 1,000. I remember just crying a little bit because I know it's gonna be the end of the characters, and there are obviously deaths because it is a final book. I've just followed this character. I binged this series in like 1-2 months. I understand why people love this series. I really understand why it's like overhyped, or like why the series is so popular, because the characters are so lovable. The plot line is incredible. I love it. I like how it concluded. I'm sad that it has ended, but you know what? I enjoyed it, which is why I feel like it deserved to be on the 4th spot, because it honestly was a really, in my opinion, a satisfying conclusion. Specifically, this book is good. The first 2-3 books in the series I had an issue with. It was so hard for me to dive into, but you know what, 4th and above books, it was really good, and it was worth the wait and the journey. Number 3 on my spot on my favorite books I read in 2020.
Don't hate me.
Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Before you hate me, I promise you the next 2 books are not Sarah J. Maas. Like I said, I've been binging and reading Sarah J. Maas's books this year. It's a Sarah J. Maas year for me. This is Queen of Shadows, aka the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series, and why I like this one better, because I just love this book. This is kind of like the first time the characters from different places or different POV meet. I love seeing the dynamic of it. It was so fun. It's like when you watch Game of Thrones in the last season, and then all of the main characters finally meet, and you're like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this. That's what this was. It's also a thick one, but so good. This one was my favorite book in the entire series. 2 people that I ship finally met. Can't spoil you, but once again, I get why Sarah J. Maas and Throne of Glass has a lot of hype around it, because she creates characters that are easily attachable, that easily makes you fall in love with them, and just so invested in their stories and character development. Number 3 on this spot is A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. What was that? I reread the first 2 books because I just got this one and I want to like dive into the world again, but I kind of forgot the plot, so I reread the first 2, loved the first 2, and I read the 3rd book. My emotion. The character development, the character arc
In this book,
I wanted the 4th book so badly, and it's already out, by the way. The 4th book, which is I think The Endless Storm in the Night or something like that by Sabaa Tahir. It's out, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it, but at the same time I do want to get my hands on it because I don't want to finish the series, because I love the characters and the series so much. I'm the type of person to be in love with characters. When a series or the plot is bad but the characters are good, I might still stick around because I'm so invested and I love reading character stories or like books that are very character driven. I love those stories because I get attached to them and I enjoy reading them. This, however, has amazing characters and amazing plot. If you like fantasy, this is your baby. It's very Roman-esque inspired, but it's not set in Rome. It's more like in the Middle East kind of setting, but it is a fantasy, so it's not like Middle East. You don't use that word. But the culture is very Middle East and also like a bit of, I feel like there's a little bit of Arabian mixed culture in it. And yeah, I kind of don't want to pick up the last book just yet because I just want to enjoy my relationship with this book. I know this book has a lot of hype on it. I know that this series, a lot of fantasy lovers love this series, so I'm glad that I'm not the only one. All of the books are fantasy basically because I'm a fantasy kind of reader, but if I could tell you one fantasy series to read, it would be this one. It would be this series. I think you will enjoy the story of it. Very, very good. Oof, the romance is also really good, so keep that in mind. Now, for number 1 spot. If you know me, you wouldn't be surprised by this option. Favorite book of 2020. I know some people are gonna disagree. Your opinion does not matter in this one because it's my selection. It is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I know. Oh my god, Danny, a Cassandra Clare book? I'm not surprised. No one is surprised if you know me. If we're going to talk about the plot and the actions, I feel like those other books that I mentioned has a better quality of it. The reason why I love this world or these Shadowhunter Chronicles is because they are all connected, because these are the kids from the Infernal Devices series or trilogy. So if you don't want to get spoiled for the Infernal Devices, do not read this one because it's very much heavily spoiled, and also you'll see the characters from that series appear in this series because they're the parents. Plot wise, I think it's really great. There were parts that I think were predictable, but I still enjoy nonetheless. The reason why I love them so much is, like I said, the characters. I'm a character driven type of guy. If the plot is okay but the characters are so good, baby, you can expect it to be number 1. This has a really big group of cast and they're also special and precious. What made me so hooked and triggered is the ending of the book. There was this, like, it's not like a big cliffhanger, but so emotionally, I don't know, grabbing for me to the point that I need the next chapter. What do you mean this is the last chapter? I want to know what happens to them. Did they apologize? What happened to the relationship? You know, that's what I like. I feel like, in my opinion, the writing style in this book has pretty much improved. If you compare this to The Moral Instruments, obviously this one is much more superior. The Infernal Devices had better writing, but this one had more elegance to it that I really liked. Something about the way she wrote this book, Cassandra Clare wrote this book, it's just so poetic. Maybe because it's set in like the 1990s or 1900s, sorry. This is my number 1. I love it. I enjoyed it. And I cannot wait for the second book, which is going to be out next year. I'm really happy. Next year, there are a lot of most anticipated series and also sequels that I cannot wait to read because they're basically the continuations of all of these books that I read. But yeah, those are my pick and those are my choice, my top 5 favorite books of 2020. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what are your favorite books of 2020, and also, have you read any of these selections and what are your thoughts on them? Comment down below and I'll see you next time on my next video. Bye.